I might be too strung out on compliments. Overdose, don't.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Austin Peterson here, former presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. Welcome to the Freedom Report podcast live stream. If you're watching this live right now, then you're one of the few, the lucky, the brave, the YouTubers. We've been doing our live streams over on YouTube these days, just so you know. If you're watching this later on Facebook, but you want to catch us live, this is a replay if you're on Facebook, just FYI. Our live streams are happening Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays over on our YouTube channel, which is at youtube.com/AUGGYP. Augie P, that's me, AUGGYP. So if you want to catch these live, make sure to head over to our YouTube page, give us a subscribe, and get alerts for whenever we go live. The schedule's been Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Tomorrow night, I'm going to be flying into San Diego. So if you're watching us tomorrow night, we're probably going to be doing our live stream via mobile phone, so there's a small chance we might be on Facebook, but the regular schedule when I'm not on the road is going to be on YouTube. Also, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Justin Moldow. We just heard tonight that our friends over at Liberty Hangout had a little bit of a crisis. Unfortunately, Justin Moldow is not feeling very well tonight. He's on his way to the hospital, and I just want to give a shout out to him because he was a big supporter of my campaign. He's kind of a troll like me, but he's got a good heart, and I just want to say, hey Justin, we hope you feel well, feel better soon. Hope there's nothing serious, and that you are going to have a quick and speedy recovery. So the big news, ladies and gentlemen, is that Donald Trump becomes president of the United States this weekend, and that's why tonight's show will contain a very stern and very direct warning to Donald Trump. Of course, it's not a threat. We saw today that somebody already got arrested by the Secret Service for threatening the president. What is wrong with people? Every 4 years, every 8 years, whenever we get a new president, there's always some nut job that has to screw it up for everybody else. I don't care if you don't like the guy, but he's our president now, and we should all hope that he succeeds. I mean, I wasn't a fan of Obama, but I wanted him to be a successful president just because this is our country, and I love the United States, and I hope Donald Trump does make America great again. But if you're a little bit wary about that, I think you'll like the topic of tonight's show. And if you're a hardcore libertarian again, then you know that taxation is theft again. And that's our mission in life, is to make taxation theft again. It always was theft, right? We knew this. But if you like the hat that you see, the Make Taxation Theft hat again, or the product that you can see over here, I want to live in a world where gay married couples can protect their marijuana fields with fully automatic rifles, then this is the shirt for you. You can find it over at threadsofliberty.com. They're hosting the AP collection. So don't forget, after this live stream tonight, if you want to get one of our cool hats or one of our awesome shirts, you can get those there. We've also got a bunch of cool new products coming out very soon. And those will be on the threadsofliberty.com website. Also, I am monitoring the chat. So if you're watching us live on YouTube, don't forget to drop a question down there at the bottom of the chat log so that I can answer your questions perhaps at the end of the show. I am monitoring, so no trolling and no bad language, guys. Be on your best behavior. So tonight we're going to be talking about a libertarian's warning for Donald Trump. But before we do, healthcare has become the big issue. And I thought I would share with you an article that I found at the Foundation for Economic Education. If you all haven't heard about FEE, is what they're called, the Foundation for Economic Education is an educational institution which teaches people about free markets, Austrian free market economics. And I saw a story over there today because a lot of people have been arguing about healthcare, having a discussion about healthcare, what's the best system, and why is healthcare so expensive. And this article does a really good job pointing out the reasons why the healthcare industry has become more expensive while the cost of other products, other goods and services have gone down. So I'm going to drop a link in here for you guys so that you can follow along. I'll also pull this up on the live stream so that you can see the chart that we're going to be reading. The name of the article is called "Why Luxury TVs Are Affordable and Basic Healthcare Is Not." And I'm going to read this to you, and then I've got a funny little story from Twitter that I wanted to share with you guys. I was channeling my inner Ron Paul arguing with this liberal on Twitter about healthcare and health insurance. So I'm going to share that with you, and we can all get a good laugh from that. So this is by a guy by the name of Richard N. Lorenk at the Foundation for Economic Education. Listen to this. Imagine this. You're feeling under the weather. You pull out your smartphone and you click on the RX app. A nurse arrives in 20 minutes at your home. He gives you a blood test and recommends to the doctor that she prescribe a treatment. It is sent to the CVS down the street, which delivers it to your door in 20 minutes. The entire event costs $20. Sounds nuts? Not so much. Not if healthcare were a competitive industry. As it is, medical care prices are up 105% in the last 20 years. This contrasts with the television industry, which is selling products that have fallen 96% in the same period. I'm going to pull this up for you so you guys can see the chart that I'm reading this from. Let me show you right here. Ba-bam, right there. That's the tweet that I'm going to show you in just a minute. But here is the chart, just so you can see the prices. The price changes from 1996 to 2016, which shows selected consumer goods and services. Now, at the very bottom of this chart, you can see TVs have dropped in price. See, here we are in 1996 here to today, 2017. And TVs have gone down 96%. Other consumer industries have gone down. Toys, software, wireless services, new cars have stayed about the same, household furnishings, and clothing. But look at these items up here. Food and beverages up 64%, housing up 61%, child care, medical care 105%. But look at this industry right here. Textbooks have increased by 207%, and college tuition has come up 197%. Now, this reveals two important points. First, there is no such thing as an aggregate price level, or rather what we call the price level is a statistical fiction. Second, it shows that competitive industries offer goods and services that are falling in price due to market pressure. In contrast, monopolized industries can extract ever higher rents from people based on restriction. And that's the thing, is that the healthcare industry is very much monopolized by the insurance cartels, by things like Obamacare, which is anti-competitive by nature. Consider each of these products and services that we have. College, heavily subsidized, regulated, exclusionary, and the costs have been soaring. Now, the textbook industry is hobbled by extreme copyright regulation, and this depends on things like that we call captive buyers. Childcare, one of the most regulated industries in the country. Not just anybody can enter that. Every aspect of childcare provision is controlled by the state. Now, on the other hand, you've got software, wireless services, toys, and TVs, which exist in a fair trade system or a free trade system, and they have a freer market setting on them. And the price pressure for those is down. And it's not that complicated, folks. If you want goods, good services, good products, innovative ideas, and low prices, then you're going to need competitive markets. The more you control, the higher the prices, and the worse the results. And now I want to show you the funny little tweet, the exchange that was going on between me and the liberals. I thought you guys would get a good laugh out of this. Just FYI, so you know, if you see this group up here, and I know Rebecca and some of the admins are going to be like, no, but this is Austin Peterson's Freedom Ninja Army. This is a closed group, and no haters allowed. No haters, no staters. So anyways, yeah, if you want to join that group, it's a closed group, just FYI. You have to have a cool pass to get in, and if you're not cool, well then get lost. But anyways, so I posted this tweet that talked about Obamacare, how people were complaining that people had their insurance plans canceled by Obamacare. And this liberal guy, Mark Hoofnagel, says up here, he goes, it's that they lost their cheap till you need it street insurance. This was a feature, not a bug. So I wrote back, this is what insurance is supposed to be, quote, till you need it. That's literally what insurance is. And he wrote back, you deleted the word cheap. Insurance that costs nothing, then covers nothing, or street insurance was eliminated with the ACA. And before I get into rip this guy a new one and finish this up, just the absolute arrogance and elitism of liberals. How dare someone tell me that the product that I'm buying isn't good enough, so I don't have a right to buy it? I mean, that is to me just the absolute arrogance of the liberals that I just love drinking all their liberal tears in this election. I mean, you know, again, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I mean, come on, like, these liberals had it coming. So I responded when he says your cheap insurance was eliminated. So I wrote back, well, what if I don't like the products you're buying? Should I step in and save you from yourself? And then I had to channel my inner Ron Paul down here. If you guys have ever seen him on that Morton Downey Jr. show, when I said, you look a little overweight. What kind of food are you eating? Perhaps we should alter your diet a bit. Oh, that's the kind of thing that makes libertarians and conservatives laugh. But it's true. I mean, how dare you tell me that the product that I'm buying is not good enough? If I go in and I decide to purchase a product that's a low cost, and it's a product that I can afford, and it's one that's helping me, that is my right as an American. And it just reeks of the liberal elitism that got Hillary Clinton handed her tuchus in this election. And to me, I think that the problem with Obamacare has been that central planning doesn't work. There's a funny statement that some people use. There was a guy who was talking about the problem with capitalism, and he said, the problem with capitalism is capitalists. The problem with socialism is socialism. And Obamacare is socialism, because socialism, go with me here, kids, is socialism defined is central planning. It is central control over the means of production. Now, if Obamacare was just subsidies, it would just be considered welfare. But it's more than just subsidies. It's about exchanges and the fact that there is coercion required in order for us to operate our healthcare system. Because if you don't pay the fine, the tax, then you will be fined. And so to me, this is what I guess I really think this attitude of elitism, that and calling everybody a racist and a bigot and a homophobe in every other sentence is definitely one of the main reasons why liberals got themselves a humongous loss in the last election. All right, so the main story, the main event, the big story, the one that I wanted to share with you all, which is a fascinating article, came out yesterday in Bloomberg.com of all places, which actually there's a lot of good libertarian writers over at Bloomberg, a lot of capitalists, a lot of Keynesians too, but this article stuck out to me simply because of the title of it. And then, of course, if you're a libertarian, then you're going to know what the road to serfdom is all about. And this article was called "A Warning to Trump" from Friedrich Hayek. Now, a lot of you guys, the super nerds, the super hardcore libertarians, you know who Friedrich Hayek is. Economist of the Austrian school. The Cato Institute models their economic profiles off of his work. He came up with the concept of spontaneous order, for which he won the Nobel Prize, probably one of the only Nobel Prizes that actually was deserved. But Milton Friedman won the Nobel Prize in 1974. And when he won the Nobel Prize, he wrote an article called The Pretense of Knowledge. But he also wrote a really fabulous book called Road to Serfdom. And if you haven't read Road to Serfdom, I definitely would. It's a little bit dense, but they do have a cartoon version that's dumbed down. And I'm not saying you're dumb if you read it. It's a really good book. And if you like cartoons and if you want to share the message with people, that's sometimes a good introductory way to kind of explain to people about how democracies can turn into totalitarian dictatorships, despotism, essentially. But this article is written by a guy by the name of Cass Sunstein over at Bloomberg. I'll drop that in there for you guys if you want to share that up later. But it's a fantastic piece, and if you guys don't know who Friedrich Hayek is, you should definitely learn more about him, read some of his books. Road to Serfdom is a good one. Also, another good guy, Ludwig von Mises. But this is a libertarian's warning to Donald Trump. I substituted libertarian with the word Friedrich Hayek, because a lot of people don't know who. They say, Selma Hayek? Oh yeah, she's hot. No. Not Selma Hayek. We're talking about Friedrich Hayek. So I want to read this story to you guys, and then I could take a couple of questions at the end, because we're actually clipping along quite well. I appreciate you guys all being a part of this. Cass Sunstein writes, if American conservatives and libertarians have an intellectual hero, it might well be Friedrich Hayek, and rightly so. More clearly than anyone else, Hayek elaborated the case against government planning and collectivism and mounted a vigorous argument for free markets. As it turns out, Hayek simultaneously identified a serious problem with the political creed of President-elect Donald Trump. One of Hayek's most important arguments in this great classic, The Road to Serfdom, involves the rule of law, which he defined to mean, quote, that government in all its actions is bound by rules fixed and announced beforehand. Because of the rule of law, the government is prevented from stultifying individual efforts by ad hoc action. In The Road to Serfdom and in the Constitution of Liberty, Hayek distinguished between formal rules, which are indispensable, and mere commands, which create a world of trouble because they are a recipe for arbitrariness. When formal rules are in place, quote, the coercive power of the state can be used only for cases defined in advance by law and in such a way that it can be foreseen how it will be used. So the idea is that you can't be prosecuted for a crime which hasn't been considered a crime yet, but the government likes to do those kinds of things all the time. Whenever there's some new technology invented, or they think that a crime has been created, sometimes governments, tyrannical governments, will go ahead and try and prosecute you. But if there's no legal statute, then they can't get away with it in a libertarian republic, so to speak. Like the rules of the road, formal rules do not name names. They are useful to people who are not and cannot be known by the rule makers, and they apply in situations that public officials cannot foresee. Essentially like the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. The Founding Fathers laid out formal rules for our government and a Bill of Rights for the people because they could not foresee certain events, so they wrote a Constitution that was meant to deal with the problems. Now, people may say, oh, well, what about all of the amendments? Of course, well, we did have an amendment process that was written in there, and that was also because they knew they could not foresee many of the problems that they would face. Like airplanes, for example. Our concept of property rights changed. You know, it used to be in the old days, before airplanes and helicopters and drones certainly existed, that when you purchased a spot of land, not only did you own the land and everything below it, but you owned all of the air above it, all the way up to heaven. But now that we have airplanes, that has changed. And I believe my friend Martin Dingus the other day wrote that the new FAA rules are such that you cannot hover or fly an unmanned aerial vehicle up to 20,000 feet above private property. So I think the difference is it's about 20,000 feet above private property. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, just a brief little hiatus real quick. I am monitoring the live stream. If you're watching this later on Facebook, I'm probably monitoring that too. So if you have a question, don't be shy. Go ahead and drop it in at the bottom. Oh, and do us a favor. Share us too. When this is done, do us a favor. Grab the URL from YouTube if you're watching that, or if you're on Facebook, share the stream out for everybody so that they can learn more about free markets, economic liberty, and economic freedom and personal liberty. Continuing on, commands are different from formal rules. They target particular people and tell them what to do. Think Hitler's Germany, Stalin's Soviet Union, Mao's China, Castro's Cuba. They require the exercise of discretion on the spot. As examples, Hayek pointed to official decisions about how many buses are to be run, which coal mines are to operate, or at what prices shoes are to be sold. Hayek offered two arguments on behalf of the rule of law. The first is economic. If the government's actions are predictable, then people are able to plan. In his famous formulation, the more the state plans, the more difficult planning becomes for the individual. Let me repeat that. It's a very important concept for libertarians. The more the state plans, the more difficult planning becomes for the individual. If officials are issuing commands, it will become much harder for people to have the kind of security that is a precondition for economic development and growth. And that's very true. I mean, if you don't know what the rules are going to be, because the rules keep changing every 5 years, every time Stalin initiates a new 5-year plan, then it's impossible to invest. It's impossible to invest in your future or your kids' future. Hayek's second argument, moral in character, involves a specific value, impartiality, neutrality, something that libertarians value in their government. When the rule of law is intact, public officials act behind a veil of ignorance. Of course they do. They're public officials. If the government does not know who will be helped or hurt by what it does, it cannot play favorites or take sides. For Hayek, the state should never specify, quote, how well off particular people shall be, and what different people are to be allowed to have and to do. Now contrast that with modern liberalism, which tells you how well off anyone should be, what different people are allowed to have, and what different people are allowed to do. Many late 20th century conservatives, including Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, have been drawn to Hayek's arguments. The same is true of contemporary figures like Paul Ryan and Ted Cruz. In sharp contrast, President-elect Trump prides himself on his skills as a, quote, deal maker, and he wants to use those skills to, quote, make good deals for the American people. There is a real risk that in practice, presidential deals, deliberately done and on an ad hoc basis, will turn out to be Hayekian commands. Consider in this regard Trump's participation in the highly publicized agreement with Carrier Corp, a manufacturer of air conditioning and heating equipment, to keep operations in the United States in return for tax breaks. Or consider Trump's negotiation with Boeing Company, which brought down the cost of the Air Force One program. Now, there is a legitimate argument long pressed by Democrats that Medicare should negotiate prescription drug prices with pharmaceutical companies. But Trump's endorsement of that argument undoubtedly stems in part from his enthusiasm for the role of dealmaker-in-chief. In the abstract, of course, no one should object to the president is able to secure better deals for the American people. A successful negotiation is not a command. But unlike a candidate or a president-elect, a president has coercive power. Any negotiation is inevitably undertaken under the shadow of that awesome power. A succession of good deals by the executive branch might garner impressive headlines, but Hayek's analysis offers a serious warning, and here it is. Exactly which companies will end up with favorable or unfavorable deals, and why? A deal-making executive branch interacting with those in the private sector along multiple fronts will be tempted to reward its friends and punish its enemies, and it will have plenty of ways to do that. In a world of presidential deals, companies are going to have horrible incentives to curry presidential favor in countless ways, to act strategically, and to make promises and threats of their own, so as to avoid unfavorable treatment from government and to obtain optimal concessions from it. That's nothing to celebrate. On the contrary, it is the road to serfdom. One of Hayek's enduring achievements was to clarify the importance of government neutrality and forbearance, not through anything like laissez-faire, but by avoiding commands in favor of clear, general, stable, predictable rules on which the private sector can rely. A deal-maker-in-chief might turn out, in practice, to be a commander-in-chief in precisely the sense that Hayek deplored. And that is the end of the topic, the main topic for our show. I do want to talk about Hayek here just for a moment, just kind of spitball here, because the thing about planning is that there are a lot of tropes, liberal tropes that are trotted out against libertarianism, because they say, I saw a meme earlier that showed that libertarians make bad lifeguards because the lifeguard was just sitting there and he wasn't intervening to save people's lives. He was just sitting there and letting people drown. Which is, again, this is a trope of libertarianism, because they say the idea is that if we don't, and I'll quote some Bastiat here in a minute, is that just because we don't want the state to plan, it's not that we don't want planning, right? The idea behind Hayek's economics is that it's not that there's no plan, it's that there are more planners, right? We want plans of the many, not plans of the few. Essentially, it's the argument against central planning, the concept that we have a very tiny, small elite in Washington, D.C. making all of these decisions and plans, when libertarians want to have individuals plan for their own lives. We want that in healthcare. We want that in any public service, for the most part. I mean, almost any public service. Even as anarchists would argue that we don't want planning in terms of transportation. We don't want planning in terms of roads or even police or military and all that. And there's an argument to be made there. But I want to read to you a quote from Friedrich Bastiat. Socialists confuse the distinction between government and society. Now, there's actually, I used this argument in a debate with Governor Gary Johnson. You know what? Let me just show you that debate, Austin Peterson, Religious Liberty. I think you guys would like this, where I used this argument against Gary Johnson in this debate. I think you all will really like this. I'll share this. We'll watch this. This is about 2 minutes long, and then I'll read the quote from Bastiat. And while I'm playing this, I'm going to be reading your comments. So if you're in the live stream right now, drop your comments at the bottom of the feed. I'll read some. If you've got good questions, and I'll do those while we watch the clip. You guys enjoy that, and I'll be gathering up some good questions for you guys. Enjoy.
Laws are really just a way to discriminate. You've stated it very accurately. These religious freedom laws are really just a way to discriminate against gay individuals, LGBT community. That's what they are about. And I don't think that the Libertarian Party should in any way be engaged in condoning discrimination of any kind.
Doesn't liberty mean the freedom to discriminate, though, Governor? Shouldn't we be free to discriminate? Is the government really supposed to make us into better people?
The fact of the matter is that these laws that are being passed right now are all about discriminating against gays. The fact is, and Austin gave an answer that really kind of belays what he had been saying up until this point. But it's always been about the Nazi cake baker. Look,
listen, Governor, you don't even understand the law. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 does not create Nazis as a protected class.
I would have signed the Civil Rights Bill of 1964. Austin would not have signed the Civil Rights.
That's a lie, Governor. Don't put words in my mouth. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 has a Title II section of it, which you do not understand, because National Socialism is not a protected class. You're running for Commander-in-Chief, and you should understand the law. Now, when it comes to discrimination, yes, you should be free to discriminate, but that does not mean that we promote hatred. My question to you is, Governor, do you think that priests should be forced to marry gay couples?
Do you think that the Libertarian Party should take up the banner of supporting legislation?
Answer the question, Governor.
Well, calm down a little bit. Give him a chance to talk here a little bit. Go ahead.
Do you think that the Libertarian Party should be sponsoring legislation that will allow for discrimination that currently does not exist? I have a difference of opinion. The Libertarian Party should not be supporting legiking that would, in fact, allow for discrimination.
I'm going to give you just 10 seconds, and then we're going to have to finish right there. I'm sorry, we just can't keep going back and forth. So give it 10 seconds.
Right. The argument that liberals make is that they don't understand the difference between government and society. Because the truth is that private individuals should be free to discriminate, but government should not.
And that's the debate right there. I mean, essentially, that's what I'm arguing there, is that the argument that liberals make is that they don't understand the difference between government and society. So let me read this Bastiat quote to you. I saw a couple of good questions in there I'm going to try and get to on this live stream. But Bastiat argued that socialism, like the ancient ideas from which it springs, confuses the distinction between government and society. As a result of this, every time we libertarians object to a thing being done by government, the socialists conclude that we object to its being done at all. This is called bifurcated thinking, black or white thinking. It's very common. Even libertarians sometimes do this. We disapprove of state education, then the socialists say that we are opposed to any education. We object to a state religion, then the socialists say we want no religion at all. We object to a state-enforced equality, then they say that we are against equality. Sound familiar? And so on and so on. It is as if the socialists were to accuse us of not wanting persons to eat because we do not want the state to raise grain. I mean, that's the argument that we're facing nowadays. And Friedrich Bastiat was facing those same problems when he was arguing this in the French legislature. If you guys haven't read Bastiat, another great book. His last name is spelled B-A-S-T-I-A-T, Frederick Bastiat. Yeah, some of you guys were asking me some good questions in here. You were asking me if I was going to run again, which I have not declared for anything just yet. Right now, I'm a free market person. I'm working in the capitalist enterprises. I'm going to be in San Diego this weekend speaking to the Libertarian Party. If you guys are in Southern California, come out and meet me at the San Diego Libertarian Party Convention. You can find out the information about that on my events page. And you guys, you can just click RSVP on there. It's on my Facebook page on events. Make sure to click that and come and see me this weekend. I'm leaving tomorrow, so I'm going to try and do a live stream from there. You guys, hopefully, it's going to be bad weather, I think, so might have to do it indoors. I was hoping I might be able to do it with some palm trees in the background. Good question. Somebody asked me, what are my thoughts on Nietzsche? Should I read his work? Yeah, I'm a big fan of Nietzsche. He influenced Ayn Rand, and he's definitely been an influence on me. He's all about the greatness of the individual effort. It's the center of the ego, the idea of ego not being a bad thing, but a good thing, that we should be proud of ourselves and that we should strive for greatness in all ways and not worry so much about what others think about us. So yes, Austin, hey bueno. Definitely. Bueno. Nietzsche, e bueno. So definitely check out Friedrich Nietzsche. If you guys haven't read him, then yeah, and that's it. 30 minutes. I think we're doing a great job, guys. I really love the energy that I get from you guys during these live streams. 101 people watching right now on YouTube. And of course, later on Facebook, we'll have thousands and thousands more, which I'm so grateful for. So if you like this show and you want people to learn more about economic freedom and personal liberty, Share this on your Facebook timeline. Share it on YouTube. Don't forget to tweet it as well. If you guys want to find out more about my nonprofit work, Stonegate Institute, you can find out more at stonegateinstitute.org. We're looking at taking on civil asset forfeiture in Texas. That could be a big project for us this year. And of course, if you want to get some great news about these concepts, you can also go and visit the libertarianrepublic.com and libertyviral.com. You guys are fantastic. Cameron Hernandez, Rasef, Daniel Keller, Kevin Connolly, Tyler Mrozinski. Very grateful for all of my friends and fans. I love you so much. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I'm very grateful. Of course, if you like the products that you see right here, get your Make Taxation Theft hat again at threadsofliberty.com or your cool t-shirt. We've got this hat in a shirt form as well with a lot of cool new products coming, as well as you demanded it. We're going to have some ladies merchandise as well, some ladies t-shirts and some cool gear so that you guys can spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. Kyle Allen and Flubberbelly, Nadia Garza, very grateful again for all of your support. You guys are fantastic. You all have a fantastic night, and I'll talk to you all again very soon.